Today I am here to present to you the topic Arches of the Foot. We will be dealing this topic under the following few headings. First, a brief introduction, then we'll talk about the types of the arches of the foot, their functions, and then we'll wind up with the clinical correlation. So, let's begin. To give a brief introduction, what do we mean by the arch of the foot? It is nothing but the arrangement of the bones of our foot in the shape of an arch. It is present since our birth, but it is not very prominent in the baby's foot due to the presence of subcutaneous fat. As we grow up, the plantar concavity becomes more prominent. It helps us in bearing the weight of the body and in carrying out the normal day-to-day movement activities like walking, jumping, etc. So that's all about a brief introduction. Now let's move on to the types of the arches of the foot. Okay, so there are mainly two types of arches. One, we have a longitudinal arch. One, we have a transverse arch. Yes, like that we can see. So the longitudinal arches are further of two types. The one on the medial side is the medial longitudinal arch, and on the lateral side we have the lateral longitudinal arch. Whereas the transverse arch, what we need to remember is that one foot forms one half of the transverse arch. Imagining this as a foot, when both the feet are kept together, the transverse arch is complete. That is, this is just one half of the complete transverse arch. Only when both the feet are kept together, the arch is completed. So very simple. There are two types of arches, longitudinal and transverse. The longitudinal arch on the medial is the medial longitudinal arch, and one on the lateral is the lateral longitudinal arch. The transverse arch, one foot forms one half of the complete transverse arch. That's all about the types of the arches of the foot. We'll go into its details later, a little bit further. First, before that, let's go through its functions. So, to talk about the functions of the arch of the foot, the medial longitudinal arch is more dynamic and elastic, and it is involved in acting as a lever to propel us forward. It helps in carrying out actions like walking, running, jumping, etc. Whereas the lateral longitudinal arch is more static, and it is involved in the transmission of stress and weight to the different bones of the foot. It has more of a weight bearing static function. Now, both these arches act as shock absorbers to prevent our foot from sudden damage and prevention from fractures. Both of them act as shock absorbers. And the plantar concavity helps in the protection of the vessels and nerves within our foot. So I repeat the functions. Medial longitudinal arch acts as a lever to propel us forward. Lateral longitudinal arch acts as a static support for the transmission of stress and weight to the different bones of our foot. They both act as shock absorbers, and they protect the vessels and nerves within the foot. So that's all about the functions of the foot. Now let's move on to the details of each of these arches. First, let's deal with medial longitudinal arch. So, what are the bones that form the medial longitudinal arch? From before to forward, first we have the calcaneum, which is also a heel bone. Then we have the talus, which is the tortoise-shaped bone. Then we have the boat-shaped navicular, the medial three cuneiforms. This is just the medialmost cuneiform, 3 cuneiforms. Then the medial 3 metatarsal. This is the first metatarsal, but the medial 3 metatarsals are involved. Yeah, that's all. The phalanges are not part of the arch. This is the medial longitudinal arch. So I repeat: calcaneum, talus, navicular, cuneiform, medial 3 metatarsals. This is the first metatarsal. So these are the bones that form the medial longitudinal arch. Now before we proceed, we need to know that the longitudinal arch has 3 parts. We must consider the longitudinal arch similar to that of an overbridge and its mechanical supports. It has 2 pillars, a summit, and the joints. Parts of a longitudinal arch are anterior and posterior pillars, a summit, and the joints. So in the case of the medial longitudinal arch, the posterior pillar is formed by the short and sturdy calcaneum. Posterior pillar is formed by the calcaneum. Anterior pillar is formed by the heads of the medial three metatarsal. Heads of the medial three metatarsals form the anterior pillar of the medial longitudinal arch. And the summit is formed by the head of the talus. This is the head of the talus forming the summit of the medial longitudinal arch. A point to remember is the head of the talus is also known as the keystone of medial longitudinal arch. The head of the talus. So these are the parts of the medial longitudinal arch. I hope it's clear. Now let's move on to the structures that give support to the medial longitudinal arch. Support of the medial longitudinal arch, basically first what we need is to support the head of the talus, which is the keystone of the medial longitudinal arch. The head of the talus is protected very safely by navicular, spring ligament and sustentaculum tali. Okay, so what is the spring ligament? There is a ligament connecting the navicular and the calcaneum. Spring ligament is also known as plantar calcaneo-navicular ligament. The spring ligament along with tibialis posterior helps to hold the head of talus from below, the navicular in front. And what is sustentaculum tali? As we all know, it is the shelf-like projection on the medial side of calcaneum. Somewhere over here we have the sustentaculum tali. So that's how the head of the talus is protected well in a socket. Other than this, now the anterior and posterior pillars are supported with the help of plantar aponeurosis, abductor hallucis and flexor hallucis brevis. These act as tie beams between the anterior and posterior pillars. Also, there is tibialis anterior and deltoid ligament that provide a sling-like action from above. Tibialis anterior and deltoid ligament provide a sling-like action from above. So that is all about the support of the medial longitudinal arch. Another one important thing that we need to remember is the presence of two sesamoid bones in front of the first metatarsal. That is also involved in the formation of the medial longitudinal arch. There are two sesamoid bones below the head of the first metatarsals. These sesamoid bones arise from flexor hallucis brevis. Okay, so that also is involved in taking part in the formation of medial longitudinal arch. So that's all about the medial longitudinal arch. Now we have a diagram. Yeah, exactly. See, this is the posterior pillar, posterior pillar, anterior pillar, summit. Head of talus being the keystone of talus. So now let's move on to the lateral longitudinal arch. So what are the bones that are involved in the formation of lateral longitudinal arch? From before forward, first we have the calcaneum, which is the heel bone, which we already know. Then we have the cuboid, lateral two metatarsals. Lateral two metatarsals. Yes, that's all. Look at my. So we have the calcaneum, cuboid. This is the lateralmost metatarsal, but the lateral two metatarsals. These are involved in the formation of lateral longitudinal arch. So what are the posterior pillar? Posterior pillar is again formed by the calcaneum. Anterior pillar is formed by the heads of the lateral two metatarsals. Since the lateral longitudinal arch is shorter than the medial and it's very close to the ground, its summit is somewhere around here. It's involved in the same area of the subtalar joint. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing. In the medial longitudinal arch, there are two joints involved. The two joints are, one is the talocalcaneo-navicular joint. Talocalcaneo-navicular is a compound type of ball and socket joint. And another important joint is the subtalar joint. Subtalar joint, here is the subtalar joint. It is also known as the posterior talocalcaneal joint. So the talocalcaneonavicular and the subtalar joint are the two joints involved in the medial longitudinal arch, which is also a reason why it is so dynamic and elastic. Similarly, in the lateral longitudinal arch, there is one main joint, which is the calcaneocuboid joint. It is a saddle type of synovial joint, but its movement is less. It is less dynamic than the medial longitudinal arch because of the presence of just one joint. So we talked about the posterior pillar, anterior pillar, and the summit. Now let's move on to the supports of the lateral longitudinal arch. So to talk about the support, there is long and short plantar calcaneocuboid ligaments. Long and short plantar calcaneocuboid ligaments are the main support ligaments of this. Then other two tendons that we need to remember is peroneus tertius and peroneus brevis. These two are attached to the base of the fifth metatarsal. This is the fifth metatarsal. To the base of the fifth metatarsal is the attachment of peroneus tertius and peroneus brevis, and have a sling-like action from above. Then the intrinsic muscles of the little toe and the plantar aponeurosis act as tie beams over here to support the anterior and posterior pillar, plantar aponeurosis and the intrinsic muscles of the little toe. An important thing to remember is about peroneus longus. Peroneus longus tendon gives support to the lateral longitudinal arch. Its course is very interesting. It passes from above, grooves the cuboid, and is inserted into the base of the first metatarsal. Suppose this is the first metatarsal. This is the course of the peroneus longus. It grooves the cuboid and travels to the medial side and is inserted into the base of the first metatarsal, and it has a pulley like action from above, and it supports the calcaneocuboid joint and the lateral longitudinal arch. So that's all about the lateral longitudinal arch and its supports. I hope it's clear, and now let's move on to the transverse arch. This is the lateral longitudinal arch, the posterior pillar, anterior pillars, calcaneocuboid joint, the summit of this is the summit. Okay. So to talk about the transverse arch. So what are the bones involved in the formation of transverse arch? The bones involved are the bases of the metatarsal bones, all the three cuneiforms, and the cuboid. That is, base of the metatarsal bones, all the three cuneiforms, and the cuboid. These are the bones that take part in formation of the transverse arch. Bases of the metatarsals, three cuneiforms, and the cuboid. These bones take part in the formation of transverse arch, and their support is mainly by the interosseous ligaments and dorsal interosseous muscles. So that's all about the transverse arch, and as we told, like 1/4 forms only one half of it. Other than there is nothing much more important, I feel, or I can remember right now. So that's all about the longitudinal arches. Now let's move on to the clinical correlations. Okay, so what is this? This condition is, as we all know, a flat foot, pes planus or flat foot. It is caused due to the collapse of the medial longitudinal arch. This, what we can see, is called pes cavus or highly arched foot. It is caused due to the dorsiflexion of metatarsal joints and plantar flexion of the interphalangeal joint. Pes cavus or highly arched foot. Then we have the hammer toe deformity. It is caused due to the paralysis of lumbricals and interosseous muscles. It involves hyperextension of the metatarsal joints, hyperflexion of the proximal interphalangeal joints, and extension of the distal phalangeal joints. As we can see, this is the hammer toe deformity. This condition is called hallux valgus. Hallux valgus is a situation in which the big toe, it passes transversely under the second toe It is due to the abnormal protrusion of the metatarsophalangeal joint, the head of the first metatarsal. This is abnormal protrusion of the head of the first metatarsal medially. All right. Yes, that's all. That's about the hallux valgus. It is always often associated with a bunion due to the friction of this bone with shoes or anything. Inflammation occurs here to form something called a bunion. Okay, that's hallux valgus. This this condition is called rocker bottom feet. It is seen in children with Edwards syndrome or trisomy of 18th chromosome. It is plantar convexity. See, convex plantar convexity. This is rocker bottom syndrome. Now last of this is talipes. Talipes means club foot. There are many types of talipes. So this is talipes varus. Talipes varus is a situation in which the foot is inverted and the person has to walk on the lateral longitudinal arch. In talipes valgus, the foot is everted and the person walks on the medial longitudinal arch, medial side of the foot. In talipes equinus, the person has to walk on foot. The foot is plantar flexed and the person walks on toes. And in talipes calcaneus, the foot is dorsiflexed and the person walks on heels. So that's all about the arches of the foot. I hope it was helpful. Thank you all for your patient listening.